A guard's boot scraped the snow. Jim MacLeod froze. His mind raced. The patrol had doubled in number without warning. 30 Canadian soldiers trapped in a snowbound camp, hearts pounding, lives hanging on a thread. One man's courage could save them all. The wind howled through the wire fences, frost clung to every corner, and a dog's low growl echoed across the icy courtyard. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound a potential death sentence. Jim's eyes darted to weak fence posts, the patrol's shifting rhythm, and the scattered guard dogs. One wrong move and months of preparation, 30 lives, everything, they'd be lost. Micro-shocks punctuated every second, a snapping twig, the scrape of a boot, the faint jingle of a key ring. Jim's breath came slow and measured. One misstep could mean capture or worse. Could you remain calm under this pressure? Could you turn fear into action and lead 30 men to freedom? Hit like if you'd follow such a man, and subscribe. You're about to witness a story of courage, tension, and impossible bravery that reshaped 30 lives. January 1945. Europe was a frozen battlefield. Snow blanketed forests and fields alike, masking dangers and revealing none. The German army held the region with ruthless precision. Checkpoints and patrols woven like a web. Every hill, every ridge, every forest line could conceal death. Jim MacLeod, a Canadian infantryman, had endured months of grueling campaigns before capture. He understood frostbite, exhaustion, and the smell of fear as intimately as the crunch of snow beneath his boots. Yet captivity brought a new, insidious challenge. 30 men's lives hung on razor-thin margins, every move scrutinized by watchful eyes. The POW camp was surrounded by guards, dogs, and icy fences. At any moment, a careless step could betray the entire group. Every day, the men faced hunger, frost, and the psychological warfare of confinement. Even the simplest sounds, a twig snapping, a dog growling, boots clattering, could ignite panic. Jim observed everything: guard rotations, weak fence posts, patrol habits. Each micro detail became a mental map. One minor error could mean capture or worse. The men's morale wavered under freezing temperatures and constant fear. Yet Jim's steady presence gave them hope. Imagine being trapped in that cold, dark place. Could you maintain focus while frost bit your fingers, your stomach gnawed at hunger, and every shadow could hide death? Could you plan an escape so daring it seemed impossible? Stick around. You're about to witness the rise of a meticulously crafted plan, micro shocks of near discovery, and the tension that would ignite one of the most daring escapes of World War II. Jim MacLeod wasn't just a soldier. He was a survivor, a thinker, a man who understood courage was more than bravery. It was strategy, patience, and unpredictability. Even in captivity, he studied the routines of guards, the behavior of dogs, and the nuances of the camp's icy terrain. Every tiny observation became a tool for survival. He had witnessed death, despair, and the limits of endurance, yet each trial had honed his instincts. Frostbite, hunger, and the constant threat of violence shaped him, sharpened him into someone capable of thinking several steps ahead. Someone who could turn fear into calculated action. The men around him looked to Jim instinctively. His calm under pressure, his subtle humor in moments of tension, and his unexpected ingenuity inspired hope. A suppressed laugh, a clever gesture, or a tiny act of misdirection became his signature, proof that human unpredictability could outwit even the most disciplined enemy. Snowstorms battered the camp. Guards grew impatient. Dogs barked at shadows. Microshocks, snapping twigs, a misplaced boot, a rattling fence post kept hearts racing. Every moment was a test of nerve, and yet Jim remained unflinching, his mind already mapping the escape that seemed impossible to everyone else. Could you inspire 30 men under constant threat, freezing cold and near starvation? Could you plan a meticulously timed escape while every second brought potential discovery? Could your courage and ingenuity save lives? Stick around. You're about to see how months of preparation, observation, and subtle brilliance set the stage for an escape that would defy odds, rewrite destinies, and become legendary. The prisoners huddled in the barracks, snow piled against the walls, frost clinging to their breath. Jim MacLeod studied the guards, their routines, the rhythm of patrols. Every tiny movement, the scrape of a boot, the clink of keys, the whistle of a dog was logged in his mind. Each observation was a piece of a puzzle that would save 30 lives. He began instructing small teams in silence, how to move without a sound, how to anticipate danger, how to remain calm under the threat of discovery. Microshocks became daily lessons, snapping twigs, dogs barking, guards shouting, each incident training them to control fear and react precisely. Jim's hands, raw and frozen, worked on small tools hidden in the folds of clothing, practicing techniques that could aid escape. A wire, a piece of scrap metal, a discarded board, all became potential instruments of freedom. Every moment of preparation carried a weight heavier than snow on the barracks roof. Night after night he observed, instructed, and refined. Each step of planning was punctuated by subtle tension. The distant growl of a dog, a light swinging across the room, a sudden shuffle of boots outside. Every close call reminded them that a single mistake could mean capture or death. Jim's calm humor occasionally surfaced, a whispered joke, a suppressed laugh, human unpredictability that bolstered morale and reminded the men that courage could exist even in the darkest hours. Could you maintain focus when every sound threatens your life? Could you turn months of observation into a flawless plan under the constant gaze of danger? Stick around. You're about to witness the first heart-stopping steps of their impossible escape, where every decision, every move could spell life or the end. Night fell, thick and silent. Snow muffled every step, yet danger was omnipresent. Jim led the men through the barracks, showing them how to move like shadows. Every snapped twig, every shiver from the cold, every distant bark became a heartbeat of tension, teaching vigilance under pressure. Small exercises became high-stakes rehearsals. One misstep, and the guards could descend at any moment. Jim timed the patrols, memorized their lighting patterns, and even mapped the dogs' routes. Each microshock, flashes of torches, boots scraping the frozen ground, was a pulse of reality. The men learned to survive not just the cold, but the constant, nerve-wracking fear of discovery. Improvised tools were tested. A hidden wire could lift a latch. A scrap of metal could pry open a weak fence post. Jim encouraged clever improvisation, human unpredictability in action. A sudden laugh, whispered joke, or small diversion reminded the men that fear could be transformed into focus. Tension built with every passing hour. One guard strayed closer than expected, a dog barked sharply, and 30 men froze in perfect stillness. Jim's eyes met theirs, calm, calculating, unflinching. Each microshock reinforced readiness, sharpening nerves for the escape to come. Could you remain unshaken when every sound could mean death? Could you lead 30 men, each step measured, each breath a gamble, through snow, darkness, and danger? Stick around. The next part plunges you into the first real moments of action, where careful planning meets chaos, and Jim's courage faces its ultimate test. Midnight, snow hung heavy on branches, moonlight glinting off icy surfaces. 30 men pressed close together, moving silently through the camp. Every crunch underfoot, every whistle of wind, every bark in the distance was a warning. One mistake could end everything. Jim led the line, eyes sharp, ears tuned. He noticed a guard doubling his patrol unexpectedly, an impossible spike of danger.
Without hesitation, Jim whispered instructions, signaling the men to halt and press into shadows. Seconds stretched like hours as the patrol passed mere feet away. The first viral spike, sheer, impossible tension. Improvisation was key. Jim used a discarded tin to create a small diversion, a clatter that drew one guard away, turning fear into a moment of advantage. The men froze and watched as the guard investigated the noise, oblivious to the 30 lives slipping past him. Microshocks pulsed constantly, snapping twigs, the hiss of dogs, distant voices, icy wind biting their faces. The escape continued along a ridge. A collapsing snowbank loomed, a sudden threat. Men leaped carefully, hearts pounding. Jim's unpredictability surfaced. He laughed softly under his breath, a tiny human rebellion against fear, keeping the men grounded and alert.
The forest thickened, snow draping every branch like a heavy curtain. The men moved as shadows, every crunch underfoot a potential death sentence. Jim's instincts guided them. He signaled with subtle gestures, timing every step with the precision of a chess master. Then a sudden snap of a large branch echoed across the clearing. Dogs barked sharply in the distance. One guard shouted, footsteps thundering toward their position. Jim acted instinctively. A low chuckle escaped his lips, a human, unpredictable beat that broke the tension just enough for his men to mirror his calm. A snowball he had prepared earlier sailed across the path, hitting a tree and startling a guard, buying them precious seconds. Pivotal surprise beat executed. Microshocks surged in rapid succession. A collapsing snowbank forced a scramble. A guard's flashlight swept dangerously close, and a distant civilian caught a glimpse of the fleeing soldiers. Yet each man followed Jim's lead, calm, precise, disciplined. They climbed icy ridges, crawled through frozen underbrush, and pressed against fences. Every movement was a gamble. Jim's ingenuity surfaced repeatedly, using loose snow to muffle footsteps, signaling silent diversions and exploiting every minor flaw in the enemy's patrols. One moment, a guard lunged unexpectedly at a wire fence. Jim's quick reflexes and a well-timed diversion allowed the men to pass unscathed. His laughter, whispered jokes, and clever improvisations became both shield and inspiration. The adrenaline spikes were relentless. Heartbeats raced, breaths came in clouds, eyes darted through shadows. Could they make it? Could you maintain this level of focus under such pressure? Comment below if you'd survive this frozen gauntlet. Finally, they neared the outer perimeter, freedom within reach but still fraught with danger. Each second, a life or death decision. Jim's calm, calculated unpredictability and the men's discipline would determine who lived and who did not. Stick around, the aftermath is coming next. The incredible survival of 30 men, the immediate consequences, and the long-term legacy of Jim MacLeod's impossible escape. Dawn broke over a silent, snow-covered landscape. 30 Canadian soldiers emerged from the forest, exhausted, frozen, but alive. Jim MacLeod's impossible escape had succeeded. Each man breathed heavily, cheeks flushed from cold and relief, eyes wide with disbelief. Survival had been achieved through courage, ingenuity, and sheer nerve. The camp behind them lay quiet, unaware that their prisoners had vanished under their noses. Guards scoured the perimeter only to find empty barracks and disrupted fences, a testament to the meticulous planning and execution of the escape. Every small detail, microshocks, diversions, improvisations, had coalesced into a flawless operation. For the men, the escape was more than freedom. It was proof that one person's leadership and daring could save 30 lives. They had witnessed courage, human ingenuity, and unpredictability in action, lessons that would remain with them long after the war. Could you inspire, lead, and execute under this pressure? Could you turn fear into calculated action to save lives? Comment below with your thoughts and hit like if you're amazed at how one soldier's bravery changed the fate of 30 men. Stick around. The next section examines the long-term impact of this escape, Jim's legacy, and the lessons it teaches about courage under pressure. Weeks later, the story of Jim MacLeod's escape spread quietly among Allied ranks.
30 men had survived what many considered impossible. Their survival became a symbol of hope, courage, and ingenuity, a story told in whispers around campfires and letters home. Military historians would later dissect the operation, the precise timing, the calculated diversions, the use of human unpredictability, all elements that turned a perilous escape into a flawless maneuver. Jim's leadership, his calm under extreme pressure, and his creative problem-solving became case studies in small unit tactics and survival. For the men he led, Jim was more than a soldier. He was a mentor, a strategist, and a human example of how courage combined with intelligence could defy overwhelming odds. Their gratitude was profound, the bonds forged in snow and danger lasting far beyond the war. Could you have inspired such loyalty, such precision, and such survival? Could one person truly change the fate of dozens? Comment below and share what this story teaches you about leadership under pressure. Hit like and subscribe if you want to see more incredible stories where courage, ingenuity, and human spirit shape history. Stick around. The final section reflects on the lessons, moral significance, and timeless legacy of Jim MacLeod's daring escape.
History often remembers battles, strategies, and the movement of armies, but sometimes it is one individual's courage that reshapes destiny. Jim MacLeod's escape was more than a tactical success. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the power of ingenuity, and the impact one person can have on countless lives. The snow has long since melted, and the forests have returned to silence, yet the echoes of bravery remain. 30 men lived because one soldier refused to surrender to fear. His calm, calculated unpredictability turned danger into opportunity, proving that leadership is measured not just in orders given, but in lives saved. What does this teach us? That even in the darkest, coldest moments, hope and courage can prevail. That human instinct, creativity, and daring can bend the impossible into reality. And that stories of heroism, both subtle and spectacular, continue to inspire generations later. Could you act with such courage if the lives of others depended on you? Reflect in the comments below. Share your thoughts and hit like if you believe one person's bravery can change the world. Subscribe for more cinematic, true stories from history, where courage, strategy, and the human spirit illuminate moments that change lives forever.